What's up, guys? I'm going to go ahead and record this today, although I may end up releasing it tomorrow. But I just finished discussing a rather turbulent time leading between my 10th and 11th grades of high school that my family and I both went through. And I wanted to go ahead and start in and finish this today because my mind is already there, but where I'm heading now is into my 11th grade. We are in Tyler, Texas. I have a number of friends that I had from when I was in grade school, but I too easily attached myself to the idea that our friendship would sort of rekindle where it was, where it was last, and that just didn't happen. Most of these people had grown and changed, and I can really say that some of my close friends were the people I spoke with least at this point. I actually ended up developing all new friends and acquaintances. One of those was kind of the savior of my later high school years. And this guy kind of took me under his wings. He was from an extremely wealthy family, and he was a guitar fan. And of course, I was at this point in my guitar career, I was pretty heavily into it, and the band Van Halen was at that point. Eddie Van Halen was my god, and I tried to learn everything that guy ever put on vinyl at that point. And so this kid just took an immediate like to me because I could play all this stuff, and we ended up getting along. So having him as a good friend was great because he was super popular. Everybody loved him. Of course, he had lots of money, so they had a huge house. Always had the best of everything. Big screen TVs back before you ever, saw those things in most homes, and just had lots of money to buy party supplies. And because he was so popular, I kind of gained an instant popularity as well. Not quite so much, because take him out of the equation, and I was still kind of a lone wolf. But having him as a friend really helped me through that high school period. So at this point in my teenage years, I had never gotten drunk. I'd never had enough alcohol in me to cause, an actual inebriation. So this first happened during this time when I was invited to what was known as a kegger, where they floated the beer keg and passed out cups, and I don't know who paid for it initially, but you're pretty much kind of welcome to drink, however much you wanted. And the first one I ever went to, I hated the taste of beer, but because I liked being invited and having people that liked having me around, I ended up drinking, plenty too much. So it was my first experience being really, really super drunk. And I remember I can almost see the moments to this day. I have memories of, like, when I'm going off to the bathroom and just looking in the mirror and just sort of relishing in that feeling at the moment, sort of experiencing it. It was interesting. But I got in a ton of trouble by it once my folks finally figured out that I was drinking for the first time, and that didn't go too well. But once they were kind of used to the idea, I knew how to sort of get away with things. And for the most part, I wasn't running around drinking and driving and that kind of thing. I had people whose houses I would go to. They had parties. I'd get drunk and stay overnight, and so I kind of had this built-in safety factor. So it was a good time. So I get around to the I guess the idea of what happens to me with girls at this point, and I am still very completely unsuccessful with girls for the most part. Although that was mainly at the school. I was hanging around a lot of people that had lots of money, although we didn't. But they liked having me around. And so it was a bit of a, to use probably an older term, it was a very preppy crowd. And I was a little bit of a, I didn't fit in any clique. The high school I remember was very cliquish. You had a big preppy crowd. You had the druggy crowd, sort of the stoner crowd to be a better sort of name for it. There was kind of the redneck crowd because of the area that I was living in. It was a big redneck sort of, baseball caps and chewing tobacco and blue jeans and that kind of thing. And there might be a couple of others that I can't think of at the moment, but I just didn't fit in any of them. I had acquaintances and a couple friends here and there from any group. I was just the kid that showed up at school in concert T-shirts, using a Van Halen T-shirt and jeans, and my hair. I don't think my hair was long, but it was longer than a lot of kids, I guess, at that point. And so I was kind of just a local, almost court jester, or the guy who'd show up at parties, and people would have guitars and say, "Hey, Bedinghaus, go pick up the guitar, play something for us," and they'd all love it. And so it almost didn't matter at that point that I didn't really have steady girlfriends or anything. I did have some contact with girls here and there. I think mostly because I also at this point had my first job, which was working as a cook for Pizza Inn, and it was kind of my first full-time job away from having my father get me the job, something in some thing that he was doing. So I was very proud of it in a sense, and there I met some girls here and there through that job. Because I was away from school, I was kind of people could perceive me as a sort of different person. So I had semi-success, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Never had really any steady girlfriends, but had people that I hung out with, and had some fun times with. So that job I'll never forget. It was kind of my first key to real freedom, because once I had my first car, which I'd already had at that point, I believe. No, we got it around this time, I think. And I had my car and the job, and I really had this newfound sort of sense of freedom, and I could kind of explore just being me, without the whole school and peer culture, pressing down on me. At any rate, so I kind of coasted through high school. I was not interested in school at all. At this point, guitar was my only focal point, and I'd go home and play till evening time, and that was going to be my career. I couldn't wait to get out of high school and venture into that. But my sights weren't set real high at this point, and I'll kind of get into what I actually did after high school to facilitate that in another video. But my senior year, we were able to take a work program, and I could sail through the first half of school, and then at lunchtime, I went to work, and the work sort of counted as credits towards school. So I really coasted through my senior year. I think I got okay grades, but at that point, I just didn't care about it. But so I had this work program, and high school graduation kind of came and went. It was pretty lackluster and uneventful. I didn't have any real friends to speak of that I would be sad to leave. There were a couple, maybe a handful of kids, a handful of guys that, it was kind of sad to see, once I left high school, sad to see go, but it just wasn't, nothing was cemented in me. I was really focused at this point on my music, so I will get into what my decision was after high school and what led to that decision in the next video. But I wanted to finish out my high school years today and kind of finish that up to a point where now I'm really starting to enter my adulthood years. Although, as we all know, anyone who is of any lengthy age at this point knows that you think you're an adult far ahead of your actual being an adult or acting as an adult. So that's the whole irony of life. At any rate, so I will continue this next time, and if you like the video, please subscribe and actually hit the like button. I'd sure appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.